Hello, my name's McElroy and I've been asked to provide an overview of the measures in place and the challenges facing the government in Scotland in terms of delivering against its climate change target of net zero emissions by 2045, with a focus on new build homes. The current rate of replacement of our homes in Scotland is about 1 to 2% per year, and this means that 80% of the homes that we'll be occupying in 2050 already exist. And while many people would argue that the greenest thing that we can do is not to build more new homes, we have to accept that not all of our existing homes are fit for purpose. How we live has changed since many of our homes were built. Many existing homes are not fully accessible, and what was acceptable in terms of sharing bedrooms or the amenities provided by a kitchen or bathroom is no longer acceptable in some cases. The condition of our homes is assessed under the Scottish Housing Quality Standard and reported in the Scottish House Condition Survey update annually. The survey is only able to provide a snapshot as it looks at a very small number of our homes, but it is able to provide an indication of the direction of travel across a wide range of issues. While local authorities and registered social landlords will strive to refurbish or retrofit existing homes, especially where they have good cohesive communities, demographics have changed, and so have people's aspirations. Households are generally smaller than they were once, and we're living longer. Many of us are living alone, and some homes are in a state of disrepair. So while we want to avoid demolition at all costs, because this means significant amounts of waste going to landfill, which has a significant climate change impact due to what is termed embodied carbon, or the energy contained within the materials that a house is made of. But sometimes this is unavoidable. To minimise the climate change impact of new homes, we need to ensure that they are as energy efficient and long-lasting as possible, and ideally they should be future-proofed. In other words, adaptable should the needs of the household change, and also resilient in terms of design that can cope with climate change, such as rising temperatures and increased flood risk, for example. Related to this, there's a lot of research going on to reduce the need to send waste to landfill by making new homes demountable or able to be deconstructed at the end of their lives, so that all of the materials can be recovered and reused. And there's also research going on into producing homes in factories using a technique known as off-site construction, producing prefabricated units to minimise waste. In 2015, it was estimated that we needed 50,000 new homes in Scotland, of which 35,000 should be for social rent. In 2016, the Scottish Government committed to spending over £3.3 billion to deliver these homes by 2021. Now, the programme stalled because of COVID-19, but at the start of 2020, they had delivered over 28,500 homes across Scotland. This figure doesn't include what has been built by private developers. The Scottish Government continues to work to increase the number of homes across Scotland so that everyone has a good quality home that they can afford to heat and that meets their needs. This means making sure that any new homes are built to meet the climate change target of net zero emissions now, as there's no point in building new homes that will need to be upgraded to meet the new standard. To this end, Scottish Government has committed to setting new regulations for all buildings which will take effect from 2024. The Scottish Government is now consulting on a new build heat standard which was devised with the help of an external working group. And the work includes a wide variety of interests and areas and is co-chaired by respected zero carbon building expert Professor Lynn Sullivan. The panel has assisted Scottish Government in developing the current consultation on zero emissions from heat for all buildings. The consultation, which is currently live, sets out proposals that any installed heating system would produce no direct greenhouse gas emissions at the point of use. As part of this consultation process, the Government is seeking evidence on what heating technologies could be considered to meet a zero emissions standard. The assumption is that all heat used in the home will produce zero direct emissions, and this means that traditional gas boilers will not be allowed. Indeed, it's already enshrined in law that no new houses will have gas heating after 2024. However, the government recognises that there are other technologies that could produce zero or very nearly zero direct emissions, and so they're also seeking views on these as technologies will develop over time. The Scottish Government's Affordable Housing Supply Programme continues to support affordable housing providers who wish to install zero emissions heating systems at point of use in their homes. There are challenges to delivering the proposed number of homes, but also in terms of ensuring that we move swiftly to build zero energy homes. And some of these challenges include the fact that acquiring land in the right place is a challenge, as although there is a lot of land that has been banked by house builders, there are environmental factors to consider regarding whether or not these are good places to build. Much of this land is in the countryside, adjacent to commuter towns and suburbs, and not near transport hubs. So we would be both using up valuable green space and increasing road traffic in terms of commuting, which would have a negative effect on emissions even if the house itself is zero energy. We need to be mindful of this when giving planning permission. But if we become stricter in planning permission, then we need to also be mindful of the fact that the process of acquiring land and getting planning permission can be around 2 years, which slows up the whole process. And another thing that's a real challenge for government is the fact that once a developer has planning permission, this remains in place for up to 3 years, and even beyond that they can apply for an extension. So they can effectively build to old regulations in a number of years ahead. This means that the new regulations coming in 2024 might not come into effect until 2027 or later, which would have a significant impact on achieving the zero emissions target. Alongside all of this, the government is committed to the development of communities, not just housing, because a strong community is likely to endure, and that leads to all sorts of environmental benefits. The government's Housing to 2040 vision is a series of conversations that aim to do all of this by speaking to the people affected most, Scotland's citizens. Good housing and safe communities have a vital role to play in eradicating child poverty and homelessness, ending fuel poverty, mitigating the effects of climate change, and promoting inclusive growth. The Scottish Government objective is for everyone in Scotland to have a home that is warm, affordable and accessible, a lifetime home. If people care about their community, they'll invest in it in all sorts of ways. But most importantly, if they buy into the ethos of the community, it will be well looked after and it will be there for the long term. Reducing the need to demolish communities is the single most thing that we can do to make a contribution to mitigating climate change. Thank you.